welcome to some more BTS Series 2 Europe. We've got Team Empire versus Pries in the semi-final match.
Empire's
I
turn
think...
to ban.
Oh, that was very loud. I think most people expecting Empire to win it out. Either way, I'm Llama Down Under. I am joined by Scant. How you doing?
I'm doing alright. I I would fall into that category of most people that expects Empire to probably
Empire's
come into
turn
this
to pick.
match as favorites. Someone was I can't remember who it was. I was talking to someone recently about how now that FN's back in, when Empire play against G, then there's sorry, when Empire play against Virtus Pro, then there's FNG and FNG all in the same game, which is pretty cool. But shout out to whoever came up. I can't remember. It wasn't me who came up with that, but anyway. FN is a player that has played
10
in a lot of
seconds
CIS
remaining.
teams in the past and has like had chances as the fifth player of multiple teams and
5
hasn't really
seconds
stuck that
remaining.
often. But obviously with the removal or rather the roster swap of
Team
Resolution,
Empire's
they've
turn
had
to pick.
space for another player again. I haven't watched them that much since Resolution left. I don't know if you have,
Yeah, I've got
but
quite a bit.
okay. So I mean, have
They're
they
gelling
looked
very
any
well.
weaker to you?
No,
Or...
I was
Okay.
actually expecting. So often FN 7K pub star is kind of how the Russians have been talking about him, despite some stints on CIS teams. And you sometimes expect when you get these players who have played a lot of
10 seconds remaining.
ranked and not a lot of professional games that they're very
Radiant team
impatient,
pick.
that they're not. They make too rash a moves. They'll sometimes be a bit more flashy than necessary. And Empire's been in a lot of games where they're pretty far behind after the laning stage, and FN has shown some good patience there. But they pick him
So
a lot of Invoker, just like Resolution.
the other question I have is how long has Always Wanna Fly been standing in here? Is this just like a for tonight or
Radiant team ban.
That
what?
is new.
Because I mean Always Wanna Fly is in Team Spirit, right? So
Yes,
Team
that is
So-
a
Empire
stand-in
turn
for
to
today,
ban.
I believe. I didn't even
and
notice because I was looking at other stuff. Yeah.
you know there's been I mean this is the worst kind of gossip, but there's fans always have rumors when players stand in. And I don't know if you saw like Weehaw was standing in for Mama's Boys a lot, and people were like, hey, he's in Team Secret, why does he keep playing for Mama's Boys? And Always Wanna Fly used to play in Team Empire.
Radiant team
So
ban.
it's like believable that if he were to end up leaving Team Spirit after the major, maybe this is where he'd want to be. But at the same time, like I said, it's the worst kind of rumor because a lot of the time it's just teams need a stand-in,
Yeah,
and obviously Team Spirit's players can stand in this tournament because they're not in the tournament.
Team
I'm pretty
Empire's
sure.
turn
I'm
to
hoping it's
ban.
just a stand-in because I believe Nofia is. No, Nofia has been playing with them for the rest of this tournament. Maybe just had something. It's Valentine's Day. Maybe he had stuff going on.
No Fear is actually usually the draft as well, isn't he?
Exactly. That's why I don't. That's why I
10
was so
seconds
surprised
remaining.
when you pointed it out because I was just kind of looking over picks and then you're right. Like Nofia normally drafts and
Radiant
makes a lot of the
team
calls.
pick.
Although you can definitely see Funnick back driving. I wouldn't say back driving. I don't know exactly who does the captain role because you see Funnick draw a lot on the map when they're playing.
It's so interesting. I think you're right, probably that Fnatic does, and actually to be honest, like, and this is like wild speculation, but Fnatic, like a lot of analysts and a lot of players have said over many years that Fnatic's a player who plays best when he's in a team that plays around him, and maybe
Team
one of the reasons
Empire's
that he
turn
actually
to
started
pick.
playing supports is that, like, his team wouldn't feel forced in that position. Like, he can kind of control the game without being like the hero that has to be played around. People thought they've often been people saying like back in the old Navi, Fnatic and Dendi were like clashing because they both needed to be central players, or Fnatic and Avorst, or Fnatic and whoever. So since he's been playing, like I definitely it makes sense to me that he would be like one of the major shot callers.
10
What's interesting
seconds
to me here
remaining.
is always want to fly and Aloha dance playing together because they were like a support duo that
5
played together a
seconds
lot, and
remaining.
now probably always want to fly is probably gonna be supporting Aloha dance as
Yeah,
they set up now.
Reserve time.
it's always interesting to see exactly what happens with the stand-in, but I have to expect that he'll just support Aloha Dancy. I don't think they'll do extra role switching, although pretty much everybody that we're
Yeah,
seeing on Empire right now could play every role.
but just the
Radiant
dynamic of
team
supporting a
pick.
player who you used to support with, just it's interesting. I don't know. I mean, we're probably theory crafting way too much about this stuff, and we should talk about the picks a bit. Nyx Assassin, like, obviously a good pick against OD. That's the reason it's picked up here more than anything else. It's also interesting because it probably suggests that it's offlane Nyx and a mid Batrider. It's not that bad to have a mid Batrider when you have a Wisp Gyrocopter Nyx kind of strategy. Then the
10
strategy is very
seconds
much about
remaining.
aggressively relocating. Nyx and Bat catch someone else, and then Wisp relocates in. It is possible still that they could
Team
run the Nyx as a
Empire's
support,
turn to ban.
but I don't think that they'd want to. I think it's a lot weaker as a OD counter then. And I think it kind of just fits the general vibe of what they're doing for it to be the bat mid and the Nyx in the off lane.
Still, on this offlane, this Nyx is going to have a lot of trouble now that the
10
Slok is picked
seconds
up. That is a
remaining.
scary hero to play into, especially with Avenge to back it up. And I like the Spirit
5
Breaker,
seconds
obviously.
remaining.
Good for picking off the IO in the back of the fights with that Nether Strike. And Prius just, like,
Reserve time.
more backstory, unfortunately. Empire has come off of a loss this morning in Captain's Draw, I'm pretty sure. And then Prius just won in another tournament. So
Radiant team
I don't know
back.
how much that'll affect them. But in so far, throughout all of this tournament, Empire has been having a lot of trouble in the laning stage, and then coming back really hard mid game and later. So
Did you happen to? I don't know if you're casting or did you watch the Ad
10
Finum
seconds
Lana Conspiracy
remaining.
yes,
match?
I was called.
That was the other. Who won that one?
London Conspiracy
5
took it
seconds
2-1.
remaining.
So okay, so it'll be the winner of this match will play Lana Conspiracy in the
Yep.
finals. That's
Reserve
okay.
time.
So that's interesting matchup because Lana Conspiracy is like a sort of Western European kind of Scandinavian team, and both of these teams are more kind of CIS, right?
Yeah,
Actually,
the
wait.
current Prius isn't CIS, but
Yeah, they're not actually anymore.
yeah, they used to be Yellow Submarine, but this current Prius, I'm not quite sure. They're European though. I don't think they're Turkish, but they're European, and yeah, it'll be London Conspiracy versus the CIS team, and we'll see if London Conspiracy can continue their good run of taking big games off of top teams.
It's a very interesting dynamic in the European scene. I don't know if you've seen this. There's been a few people tweeting about in the
10
last week or
seconds
two how
remaining.
like Dota's one of the few esports where it seems like in terms of like
5
non-CIS
seconds remaining.
Europe, in terms of like mostly Western Europe, there actually aren't that many top teams. There's like the obvious ones, Alliance,
Reserve
OG,
time.
Secret, Liquid, and beyond that, it's hard to think of a tier one like non-CIS European team. So teams like Land Conspiracy, Adfinum, like add something very interesting to the scene because we're used to seeing tons and tons, especially in the last year, of like almost their tier 1.5 CIS or Russian teams, but not really as many of the other European teams.
I think that's just kind of the state of Dota right now. It's really interesting where breaking into that top tier can be very difficult, even though a lot of teams, I found out a lot of the tier 2 teams actually scrim tier 1 teams just because of availability and so on. I was really surprised to find out that Alliance scrims a lot of different teams, even if they're not, tier 1 and so on. But
Yeah, that's another debate that's existed for a very long time in the Dota scene. Between there's always been a philosophy of like some teams think that that's useless. There's some top teams who just don't do it, and there's other teams who spend a lot of time scrimming against the weaker teams. And there used to be a debate because I think at one point Navi, when they'd just won like one TI and come second in the next one, they were like not scrimming anyone or something, and they were like, oh whatever, we don't need to scrim. And then they came second again, and people were like, I guess the top teams just don't need to scrim. But it's I don't know. It's been a contentious thing for a long time. Honestly, I think the level of professionalism and like seriousness of attitude of all the top teams at the moment suggests that like any kind of extra competitive edge is useful. Teams getting analysts,
10
getting
seconds
coaches, getting
remaining.
like extra scrimming, regardless of who it's against, as long as they're not like
5
that
seconds
like as long as
remaining.
it's a team that like theoretically could beat you, that's valuable practice, I would say.
Radiant team picked.
and Empire finished up their draft with a dazzle. For once, they're picking super strong lanes here, because in previous games, I'm not kidding, they'd pick some lanes that were very, very questionable. Their picks weren't necessarily bad or anything, just did not set them up to necessarily win the lanes, but Dazzle and IO plus anything is so much sustain. Even if your lane isn't traditionally super strong, you can just stay there and smack at people for much longer than you'd normally be able to.
Very interesting to me that always one of Fly picks up the Wisp because when he used to play in Empire, he was actually the Dazzle player, but he's always been the Wisp player in his current team, in Team Spirit. So I was like not sure which one he'd go for, but they've got him there on the Wisp. So also interesting that Aloha Dance is playing the Nyx.
Yes, I too am now pretty confused about exactly why that's happening.
So is this like a no? Are they running the Nyx mid? And Aloha Dance is like the person who's confident to play the mid Nyx against OD in the lane, or maybe that's what's going on here. That's what it looks like. Actually, it looks like
Prepare
they're.
for battle.
You know what happens sometimes is like your team's busy drafting, and one of the Aloha Dance has like played 8K MMR
Yeah.
pubs or whatever, and he's like, guys, I've done this before. When they pick OD, let me go Nyx against the mid, and the other people are like, I'm not so sure about that, and he's like, it's fine, I'll do it. Like that's certainly in online tournaments something that can happen in teams where like one player knows that a certain matchup is good or like can play a certain hero a certain way and you end up seeing slight roles switches for that reason.
So Prius placed this ward every single game. I'm not kidding. Every single game I've costed of Prius, they place that ward. And I know there are ways that you can pull where the wards for your opponents are placed. Like you can get maps up to find their most recent wards, and you don't even have to do it manually by watching the games. I know you can code it. I'm so surprised that they get away with this every game.
I mean, the sad thing is that I think that almost every team doesn't do research for like, except for the very biggest lands. I think most teams just don't like they haven't hired people to do it. They couldn't be bothered to do it themselves. Even though I was talking about the level of professionalism and like seriousness, it's like when it comes to that kind of thing, I think from speaking to players when I went to Starlight, that's what my impression was like. Most people feel like unless it's for a big LAN, like they're just the purpose of online. Like these are just like slightly more serious scrims. Yeah, which is fine. I mean, I think that's a perfectly legitimate attitude for them to take. I also think, going back to that particular ward, this is actually, I think, the best ward for this particular role. So I think it's kind of like until someone starts countering it a lot, you're always going to put it. And one of the reasons it's the best ward for this role as a lane ward for the Radiant safe lane is that in order to counter it, you have to place a sentry that doesn't counter anything else, really. You can't like hedge it. If they had like the ward that was right all the way off to the left that also showed, you wouldn't be able to see it with the same sentry.
Yep. We've already got a lot of a mess. Host is actually down here with the high IO, not the lane I was expecting. And up top, we've got Pwn solo. Oh, Funnick. Gonna just smack him a little bit as he charges away. But they're running duels on Empire, and we'll see if it works out for them. Because kind of the name of how they've been performing recently is Hebosta has been having a lot of trouble in the offlane in recent history.
Yeah, and that's also what makes it interesting then is the Wisp is here, because the Wisp can do more with the bats than the Dazzle can. But, you know, you'd expect the Wisp to be with the Gyrocopter, but it makes good sense actually, because the Wisp is going to pair up with the Gyro later, but for the actual lane stage, Dazzle's much more comfortable being up at the top, and Wisp is not really as threatened being down here, and actually can threaten kills together with the Bat Rider.
Yeah. Now, they've done some nice jobs. We didn't talk too much about it in the draft, but obviously Slog has some ways to deal with what Bat Rider's dishing out if you can get that dog packed up. Actually, in mid, we already have Aloha Dance taking a lot of damage there. And he's gonna salve on up. Is level 2 to the OD's level 3. I mean, you're expecting the Knicks to have a rough time here, though.
Yeah, this is what I don't understand. Like, this is something like commonly talked about, especially in pubs. People like Knicks will own OD, and then it's agreed that it'll own OD later. But in lane, there's a debate about it because, sure, OD's lost all of its mana, but even without a mana pool, it's gonna outlast it Knicks quite easily, I think.
Yeah, you
So I'm not
just got
sure
trade.
This is exactly why I kind of imagined that in their team speak they would have had a conversation where like Aloha Dance said to them, I'll do the lane, trust me, or something like that, because I can imagine someone else being like, you know, dude, Nyx doesn't actually beat OD in lane. And we can see that that's what's happening now. The OD is completely destroying the Nyx in lane, and it looks like the Nyx is even gonna die now.
Oh yeah, they've got a bunch of folks in there. He does have a nice spiked carapace, but the auto attacks may just be too much. Bounty Hunter with a haste as well. None of this is easy. And Venge actually gets the first blood, so nice job there. Odie gets a big experience boost. And yeah, we got pings coming out.
Yeah, so that's,
Dire's middle tower
he
is
bought a
under
TB
attack.
scroll before he died. But that's OD sending in a bottle, and Nyx is not anywhere close to a bottle. After respawning world full mana though, so it's gonna have a whole lot of access to a whole lot of more mana burns.
Yeah. On bottom lane, Zenigata may go for the stun up on Always Wanna Fly because Bounty Hunter is here as well, and Always Wanna Fly is suddenly in a lot of trouble. Eats a Fairy Fire, but it doesn't look like that'll be enough. Tether not long enough to make him bounce on over. And bottom lane suddenly not going so well for Empire either.
Yeah, and it's actually really good to kill the Wisp. It destabilizes the Bat indirectly because the Wisp needs to be in good footing for the Bat to feel confidence in the lane. Gonna come back for another round. I would say that if the same thing happens again, the Wisp goes down again, and suddenly the Bat doesn't feel safe farming anymore.
Oh gosh, but in mid the same thing is happening again. Aloha Dance one more auto attack. He doesn't have the regen. He does have the poor man shield. Maybe that'll make this 2 auto attacks. Mastermind, no. Oh my goodness, 7 health. And Aloha Dance gets away.
Yeah, he still has to run all the way back to base. Can't afford his bottle. Gonna have to just TP back again. So it's definitely not. I mean, the funny thing is he actually got closer in CS since the last time, because it was like 12 to 2 and now it's like 15 to 7. But the OD's gonna keep gapping him, and OD actually just bottle crowed, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, easy time there. So I do not expect this lane to get any better for the Nyx Assassin. Saving Grace is on the top lane. They do have FN farming up a Storm. He has no contest since the Spirit Breaker is going around ganking and gonna hit on the IO in bottom lane. Bounty Hunter's coming a little bit further forwards, but nope, the tether away. This does leave Havost in a horrible spot, and Havost going down here. There's not much he can do.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I'm talking about. It's like, your Wisp is behind, and so your Batrider is a lot less safe. Like, if the Wisp had a bottle of its own, then that kind of gank maybe doesn't kill the Batrider, because you can heal up the Bat quite substantially, very quickly. But once you take the Wisp down, you hold it back, you feel a lot more confident to go on the Bat. It's going really well in both of these, the safe lane and the mid lane for Pries actually. Just that off lane, as you said, where the Gyro is still getting a lot of value.
Yeah, there's not, I mean, again, for Empire, we kind of see this in a lot of their matchups in this tournament so
What's
far.
dead again?
Oh yeah, that is also something we see a lot in this tournament. It just does feel like they have weaker laning phase. They always seem to win their safe lane, and they get a lot of farm on whoever's up there because they draft a lane for the safe lane, which pushes out the opposing offlaner. But now their mid's losing, their offlaner's gonna have to jungle if he can.
Mid's being charged and smoked. This is gonna be another attempt on the Nyx. There's a Wisp here,
Yeah.
but like I said, there's no bottle or
Oh
anything,
no,
so...
and they get the stun onto Always Wanna Fly. Looks like that'll be their target. They'll blow up one Zenigata coming through from the back lines. And now Aloha Dance in a lot of trouble. Doesn't have spiked carapace, and the auto attack should be more than enough to bring him down.
This is Empire getting absolutely obliterated in the early game. And it's definitely not enough that the Gyro is getting good farm. Like, it can only be enough if Gyro joins one of the early fights after getting called on and actually turns it around. Then it can be enough. But if Gyro's farm is only like leading to more farm, soon they're gonna just be like no map control on. Fennec in the mid lane.
He's going to get a bit of return damage out. He wants to kill off Pwn, unfortunately does not have the damage since that's level 1 poison touch. No stun on that thing, and I'm not kidding, this is what we see out of Empire, it feels like, every game so far. They have a lot of trouble in laning, and they managed to make it back, but whether Gyro can do that, as you said. Was that on purpose?
That was unintentional. No. I mean, the remaining few creeps actually died after he died, so it's really bad. Like, he didn't get the XP for that. There were like 6 or 7 creeps that like died in his fire after Boss died.
Oh, and then
There's
again.
a charge onto
Oh.
FN.
Aloha Dance, nice job, got his level 6 there. He's gonna actually go in for this kill, but he should not be able to get it. And the game is paused.
There's actually just been a charge onto the Gyro at the top lane as well, and he used the defensive cooldown. I'm not sure if they're gonna keep going for him because the cooldown has been used.
It misses, right? I'm having trouble telling exactly where it is.
It's one rocket's already gone. I don't think the second one is gone yet, but the cooldown's not where they're standing right now. It's not gonna hit any of them.
Yeah, that's so great.
They're not in the greatest position in terms of their levels and what they have available to actually make the kill, but...
Yep, oh, okay, that was a completely finished cooldown. That should... FN just gets to walk away after the pause, and similarly in mid, but Aloha Dance level 6 to OD's almost level 7, also OD completely dominating him when it comes to net worth. For Empire, do you just try to make the most of the next vendettas coming out of Nyx, or?
Yeah, I mean, good vendettas will help, good cooldowns will help. Once Batrider has blink, good lassos will help, or even maybe without the blink, just the level 6. They need to get big value out of these ultis, even the relocates. So all of their heroes have like 4 of their 5 heroes have very significant level 6s that could like turn things if they make good plays. But at the same time, there's a lot of mobility in the Pries side, and if they keep the momentum up and they just keep being proactive, it's difficult for them to get caught. It's difficult for them to get caught unsuspecting.
Something I find really interesting here as well, we've seen this before, Havost often has a lot of trouble in lane. He usually leaves the laning phase like 0 and 5, but he still manages to get a really good timing on that blink, and I don't know how much of that is Havost. You know, he used to obviously be a carry player. He's very good at last hitting. Speaking of Havost being in trouble, charge from Pwn. Pwn doesn't have any backup though. Cooldown is going to hit once, so they get the slow. Sticky Napalm coming out. He's going to try to juke him around, but Pwn is going down, so finally Empire get themselves on the board.
ask permission the next time you want to feed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about Avorst in general in the off lane. In this game, I wouldn't like. He's gonna get a decent time on his blink because he's a bat rider and they stack the jungle. It's not gonna be because he's good at last hitting. To be perfectly honest, he's had a very poor game so far. Like, it's to me what it says is that he's still used to being a carry player because he dies in the off lane and then he goes back and stands in an extremely dangerous position. Maybe because he's used to like, I'm allowed to do this. There's people covering me. It's also why they give him support at the beginning, as you're saying. Like, he's gonna feed if he's on his own because he's used to playing in a way which is much more aggressive than off laners can. Then he dies to the neutrals and wastes a lot of XP. Still gets the gold. So maybe a bit like off center at the moment, but he will be fine. He will get to Blinkzag at a fine time, and it'll just be about what they get out of it.
They've dusted up the bounty under here. Gyrocopter is coming in, does have the cooldown at the ready, but a quick kill there for Empire, and now FN, he drops the cooldown, going forwards, picks up Zenigata. Gadrox is pretty far away, has got Pounce on cooldown, but still has his ult. They're probably not going to extend for that one, so a nice pair of kills for Empire, again, trying to do something to work off kind of the kill score deficit they were sitting at.
Yeah, I mean, if Empire start making kills every time they have ultis and it's one-way traffic, they're gonna easily come back into this game very quick. I mean, honestly, they've already, I think, taken the golden XP lead just after those few kills, because they already had the farm lead before that. So they want to lead into some more kills in this mid lane, but not sure if it's too wise, and actually they think against the two and pull away. Like, the one concern is that Bounty's gonna get level 6 reasonably soon. He's almost level 5 now. And once the track's up, like, if Empire take those fights and don't win them convincingly, they're in a lot of trouble.
Charge
He's also got a level 6 Spirit Breaker who just cancelled his charge, which is quite early as well for his ulti, so there's a lot of potential to be picked off if you are Empire, and so they need to be very, like, the Wisp and the Dazzle's positioning is super important for them at this point in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It looks like, oh, Dazzle goes down. Oh, Dazzle kills a bounty in the bottom lane while I'm looking up at
Hill
Slum.
bomb. Stand into Hill bomb.
Yeah.
And that was that.
But they're going for a gank on the easy target. Havos in the danger zone again. He's trying to get away, not looking like there's any hope. He does have support rotating for him. I'm not sure that we'll be able to see the cooldown. It does manage to hit. Oh, it's off the mark. Full rocket barrage. Zenigata should have another stun up in a second. They're going for it. They've got the slow out, but Zenigata will fall for that. And now they're looking for more. The charge coming through on the other lines. Aloha Dance does have a stun if he can just find anyone, but it's not looking like he has the catch.
Yeah, and it's actually unfortunate for a team like Pries. I think I've spoken to you before about how there's a lot of teams when we're watching Adfin mode. There's a relocated top lane actually.
They are going for the kill on Gadrox. He's going to probably just leap up deep into the trees, go for the TP away. Oh, too short. The impale.
Yeah, it's pretty a pretty brave attempt at a kill. It's more than likely that that's not going to actually
Oh
work.
gosh, and now Spirit Breaker charging back onto Always Wanna Fly, who's just been returned. He's got a lot of support around. The stun comes out. Always Wanna Fly needs to not take the one auto attack, but no, he gets hit. And now they've also got the Nyx in a little bit of a hole, but he immediately pops that Vendetta, wanders away. The sentry's going to be seen, but there's not too much Nyx can do about it right now.
Yeah, so what I wanted to talk about, we were saying about, I think, Ad Finum, the other day, or is Havos gonna die again?
Yeah,
he's
you're
being
just
charged.
never going to get to talk, but you were saying as we watch Havos slowly die. He does have the blink though, that's something.
Yeah, we were mentioning about Ad Finum that there's something good about them, that they're a team that judges correctly what to do with their early leads, and that there's a lot of teams right now in the current meta. Nyx doesn't have any mana, but they are mana.
He's
boosts,
also
so-
tracked, so pretty sure he and Always Wanna Fly both probably gonna just go down here. Always Wanna Fly taking a lot of damage, pure damage hurts, and now Nyx trying to wander away, tracked up again, charged in. There's gonna be some smacks coming out, has the spiked carapace, so they're trying not to hit him, but now that it's gone, they bring him down. Overextension by Empire, heavily punished.
Right. And those are track kills, and so now suddenly, I mean, bring up the gold graph. Just look at that huge spike, because it was actually the exact points I wanted to make is how the golden XP graphs were still favoring Empire for the last couple of minutes. And what I wanted to say is that there's a lot of teams right now that have the skill set to convincingly win early games. There's not that many teams who know how to win those early games, get a lot of kills early, and convert that. And one concern about Pries until this point, until this like first track fight, or the bench.
They do get the venge. She overextends, gets lassoed, and the charge is cancelled, so that's a nice one. But not sure that they're going to find anything else afterwards.
You have to be sure, when you're like an early game oriented team, you have to be sure that you're not getting kills to exclusion of actually getting a lead. Like, the kills needs to be part of accruing an overall lead, and if you're getting lots of kills, but the other team is still like getting more gold than you, you're misunderstanding the point in making the kills, basically. Like if you're behind an XP and gold, it doesn't matter if you're ahead in kills. It's not really relevant.
Yeah, we're gonna have to relocate up onto the Bounty Hunter. He is stunned up. They have dust on the IO, and that's a quick pick for them. Nice to get that hero off of the map. Where are they returning to, though? There might be some aggression attempted by Pries on the return. It looks like the charge is coming out onto the Nyx Assassin, who of course does not have that Vendetta on cooldown. Gadrock's coming in as well. Nyx uses the spiked carapace. It's not enough. At the same time, though, Empire doing good work on this bottom tower.
It's very interesting, the dynamic of this game, because based on the way it started and based on the matchup, I kind of favor Prius, the kind of fights we're having where it's like constant aggression, never time for me to talk because kill after kill after kill. They've got Bounty Hunter, they've got Track. But at the same time, in this style of game, you very often have to favor the more experienced team, which is definitely Empire.
Yeah, there's gonna be a tether over. Always Wanna Fly actually puts himself into a really bad position. He's gonna get Astral imprisoned up. There's a charge coming onto him in that Astral imprisonment. Always Wanna Fly looking very low. They gets the shallow grave, and now the cooldown gonna hit on 2 out of the heroes. They're trying to do damage, but FN, he's taking too much. They still haven't killed off Pone. Finally get that hero. OD goes down. Gadrox dusted up, taking a lot of damage. Jumps to the high ground. Can they find him out there? The stun does not hit, and now they're also chasing out onto the Bounty Hunter. He has invisibility in a few seconds. Havost lacking dust. It's on cooldown, and he's going to get neither of these heroes. Havost maybe going to consider still chasing, but losing their gyrocopter for 3? Well, we'll see if it's worth it.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's still a substantial win for Empire, and it illustrates the point I was making precisely. Like, a more experienced team is less likely to... So now both teams have kind of like implicitly consented to just all-out aggression. We're just going to keep running at each other and fighting. And then suddenly a Dazzle gets a very important grave off, and what it takes is the more experienced team to be like, okay, they got that grave off, let's pull out. And the less experienced team might keep fighting and end up having a 3-for-1 trade against them, exactly as a result of that. And that's the kind of place in which I think Empire could end up taking the win in this game, taking the lead in this game, is if they keep getting those important like clutch grave, stuff like that off to turn fights around.
And it does feel like that's what they excel at. They do this a lot in games where I wouldn't quite call it... they take what looks like bad trades, knowing that they're getting more farm on the Gyro, who's going to come in later. Or as you said, the IO gets very low, they shallow grave, they know they can fight off the back of that.
Yeah, and it is, I mean, Dazzle, to be honest, is what relocates
Into farming.
farming.
Yep.
Okay.
They
enough.
wanted the kill there on OD, but OD, saw it coming a mile away because of how that spell works, so backed on out.
Dazzle's actually, I think, before people talk about secrets, they talk about EG, they talk about OG, but actually Empire were, like the old Empire, were using Dazzle long before any of those teams, like early last year already. That's why I said I was always Wanna Fly mostly back then, but...
Oh goodness, they've caught out the Nyx Assassin here, and now Gadrock's coming in. Havost trying to get some help on, but unable to, so the Batrider just has to back on out. Gyrocopter all this time.
He wants to ulti...
Yeah. He tried
Havost
to
is like...
catch Gadrox when Gadrox was chasing him, but he was a bit shy on the distance. No full stuff yet, so...
Yeah, it's very good that he didn't go. It looked to me like he was considering going for like one of the stragglers afterwards, and they retreated. And I think if he had gone in, he would have just died as well. So good to show that restraint.
All in all, though, it's proving to be a lot more even of a match than I think a lot of folks would have expected. Prius have the slight lead now, obviously having Track helping them out there. They also have pretty dang nice late game, all things considered. Slock, a hero who can get up in Gyro's face and avoid some of that damage. Not the cooldown, of course, but can ignore the rocket barrage and get a lot of those essence shift stacks going.
Yep, their late game's good. Empire's late game is pretty good too. It's difficult to call actually. They've got a really good support structure on Empire, whereas it's a bit more complicated for Prius. I think Prius have the tools because OD could use like defensive banishes, they could use defensive swaps. Those are kind of their saving mechanisms compared to the crowd control Empire have and the healing Empire have and the kind of grave effect. So it's hard to say, like sure you've only got a Gyro in terms of like a big scaling right clicker and they've got an OD and a Slock. But a lot of the time late game is more decided by like the utility and control than the actual right clicking heroes. So I'm not too sure. I do agree that the game is pretty close right now and Prius are probably a bit ahead.
But it's
But
something one team fight can turn around. Like, it's not a sizable lead at all. It's very even. Now, Havos just gonna hang out here while they easily take this bottom tower. They actually used a 5-man rotation for this.
I want this fight.
Yeah, Prius...
Empire want this fight, they've vendetted in.
Oh my goodness, Havost is seen, does not manage to get the blink off now. They're also relocating in. Havost will be able to blink in a few seconds. Not even keeps getting hit, but a nice cooldown. Hits on Mastermind completely. Rocket Barrage killing off that hero and the lasso. Really well played there from Empire. And while Funnick in a little bit of trouble here next to Pone, nobody's going to catch him. They've got the Bounty Hunter as well. And Empire just taking 3 for an IO.
Yeah, it's actually very well played by Empire there, and it's... What happens is, like, Pries just kills the tower, they're like, okay, we're gonna retreat, and they start retreating together. But someone TP's out, Spirit Breaker charges away, and it's Slark, I think, who TP'd out, Spirit Breaker charged away. And then the battle the next who can't really fight 2v2 on their own against the OD and the Bounty, and to kind of show themselves, but they were going in out for a few seconds. I don't know if you noticed that, and it's kind of like just to keep them there long enough that the relocate can happen. And as soon as the relocate happens, I think Prius are like, oh, we screwed up, we forgot about the relocates, and they kind of know that they're gonna lose the fights after that.
It was definitely a well-placed trap by Empire. And now with that, of course, they're getting themselves back. I mean, that's what we said. This game is very much, every team fight's gonna swing whoever won it into their favor since it's so close. But for Empire, this next assassin, now he's incredibly poor, and has been seen. Is this an Aether Lens game? And into desperately making an Ags? Oh my goodness, Aloha Dance, you are very seen. He's gonna get... Hasn't been tracked up yet. He's... Oh, there we go. There's the track now. Aloha Dance is just dead for sure. Going down.
I actually think that Aladons might want to buy a Midas, but I don't know, like, because of the time he'd get it, especially because he keeps dying. It's not clear to me that he'd stick to it, so he might just rush the Blink Dagger instead. For me, it's between those two. It's between the Blink Dagger to, like, that much better fighting right now, or the Midas to just outskill, especially if you look at, like, the Spirit Breaker, the offlane on the other side. He hasn't gone for Midas, he's going straight for BKB. But he's actually getting pretty close to his BKB, and that's really scary if you're Empire. So on that basis, maybe it is the Blink Rush that comes from the Nyx, and they try to win a few more fights on the side of Empire.
Okay, they've got 2 going into 5. They don't know it yet. Havost does grip 1, but he has no damage. He's gonna full staff over, but it doesn't matter. He is just dead. And Havost losing a mega kill streak to the OD. A huge overextension from Empire.
Yeah, and I mean, these things sometimes happen. They go into the enemy jungle thinking they'll find 1 or 2 people, and they're the team that has relocated, so they can, like, threaten to even have more. Turns out their West Banjara weren't ready to relocate just yet, but the point is that movement was completely, like, based on the fact that they were thinking they'd run into the whole team, and they did. And that's sometimes, I mean, it's good job by Prius to, like, maybe read it there. That, hey, Empire might move into our jungle, and they have everyone ready.
Now, Aloha Dance is still trying to get something done on this Nyx. It's really difficult. I actually really like how Prius has been placing... This sentry had been placed along with this ward, and that's what you need to do. If you just place sentries or just place wards, it doesn't work, because obviously the sentry only sees if there's also a ward, so... I like it. They've caught out Aloha Dance a couple of times there. For Empire, though, after taking a couple of bad fights like this, do you think they're also waiting on a big item? Since Gyrocopter did go Sanjin Yasha, now has the full BKB, is it their time to fight?
I mean, the only person they could be waiting for an item on is Aloha Dance, and I think then it would be the Blink, so that might be it. But if you look at their play, it doesn't really look like they're waiting for it. They're just waiting for opportunity, which...
Funnick is going to Shallow Grave. This will set up a full cooldown. The TP out will not occur. And now they've got an Astral Imprisonment. Oh, the IO relocate away. FN, no, he didn't manage to get taken because he popped his BKB. Is taking quite a bit of damage. Gadrox coming in. Mastermind getting low. FN has just backed on out. The swap's coming around, saving people's lives, but back is Funnick. Now he's going to try to heal up his team. Mastermind trying to smack down folks, but he's not getting nearly as lucky. It's a 3 for 2 so far, and they're looking for more. They don't quite reach the Bounty Hunter. Funnick now in a lot of trouble, but the second dust does get it. Can they fight up against a Gadrox with just the 2 of them? Gadrox getting very low, manages to pounce away. He's also out of vision, and they manage to tie it up on Prius. 3 for 3.
Yeah, Slark hasn't actually left. Might want to get a little bit more. Planning to go for the Wisp. They know the relocate's down.
Yeah, they can't dive the tower so easily.
And that's a completed Lincolns for Slark, which means it's pretty much gonna block bad ulti every single time, because it's hard for Dazzle to get close enough to use the poison touch. There's no rocket skilled yet. It's difficult for Nyx to get into the mana bird situation, so it's gonna make Slark really, really strong. I do think that like almost all of the good things happening for Prius in this game are based on track. It's not just about the track gold they've gotten, but like in that fight, the track speed pretty much got them everything. It would have been probably like a 3-for-1 trade again, but they get extra kills because all of their heroes are running so fast, and so they're able to kite in and out. It's very, very difficult. Empire like win the fight, and they sense they're like sharks that smell blood, and they want to chase for more. But because they're the ones that are tracked, it's so much easier for Prius to like know when they can go back in, when they need to run away, and all those sorts of things.
And also, we didn't quite discuss it, but since it ended up being an even trade, most likely a gold swing in favor of Prius due to track. So another instance of, as you said, track doing a lot of good work here, both in allowing mobility and obviously getting you more farm on your heroes.
I'd still be a little bit concerned for Prius because they definitely get outplayed at the start of that fight yet again. It involves the Grave, the relocate out, the Gyrocopter BKB running out back in. It's just because they have that track advantage that Empire then like overextend, that they get a good trade. So they need to be careful. The initial fight is still Empire playing better.
And Prius, I think even if Empire's playing better, Prius is doing a good job of being mostly grouped up for a lot of this, not allowing someone to be caught out and relocated on except for the Slog, who has an easy get out of jail free card with that R. And now Aloha Dance might walk by a sentry again. Yes, he does. He needs to get on out. He's being charged and tracked up, so I don't think there's an escape here for Aloha Dance. Also, there's a nice little Atos just making him even deader. Whoa, he got one hit by the bash there. What exactly? I guess it must have been the bash hitting at the same time as the Arcane Orb, because he was brought from half health to 0 in what looked like one hit.
Yeah, I think it was both. But Arcane Orb really has such a satisfying animation, don't you think? It like something to do with like how the sound it makes, how much damage it deals, like when it smacks against someone. It's just, I don't know.
It looks like you're
it's
throwing like lacrosse balls at someone. I don't know if you ever played lacrosse. It's big in Australia.
I have not, but
It's a very
That's
violent
just a-
sport,
okay.
much like
Sounds
what
like
OD
it would.
does.
Sounds like it would fit in America.
Dyer's
No, if it's in Australia, it's really bad. All our sports in Australia are like, Americans think their sports are vicious, and Australian sports, not good, not good. Anyway, but yeah, OD, doing very well. Also, even though Gyrocopter's top of the net worth, Slock and OD are the next people following, with a big gap between them and the Batrider, right? And where's the damage on Empire right now, other than Gyrocopter?
So I mean, in theory, Nyx's mana burn, especially once it's maxed out, which is still not there yet, is like huge damage for OD. It can like 2 mana burns on the OD is like most of OD's health every fight once the game goes later. But this is a point we need to come back to because, well, it's first Bounty Hunter dies here, which I think he should.
Yeah, he's taking a lot of damage, and the lost IO Ball gonna smack him, brings him down, and they don't get dewarded.
The conversation we need to come back to, because we had it in the draft, we had it at the start of the game, like, this Nyx pick, this Empire's draft ended up having like 1 damage dealer. They had a mid Nyx against OD, like we were like, is that a thing? Did they take it because the lowdowns told them it's a thing? He's been feeding. He's like really struggled to get anywhere in this game, and he hasn't really done that much. He's done like bits and pieces and kills, but I don't think he's justified the pick just yet. The justification of the pick could still come in future fights, and things could change up a lot if he does pick up that Blink Dagger. Suddenly he's getting like 3 or 4 hero impales in fights. But Slock wants to go now.
Yeah, they're going for it. Slock is on their backlines. IO trying to help out here. There's going to be a really nice cooldown hitting on almost all of them. And the Shallow Grave keeping Always Wanna Fly alive. They've killed off 1. They've got 2 as well. The Bounty Hunter comes in, but this may have just been coming into his death. They do not have... Oh, they dust on the wrong side of the fight, but they did not lose anyone. And again, Empire just with slight outplays there. The sustain from their lineup is insane.
Radiant's middle
It's
tower
the grave
is
every
under
time.
attack.
It's just like that's. It must be so annoying if you're Prius because you kind of know that you did a good job early on, and you've done a good job many times in terms of these
Radiant's
fights.
middle tower is under
But at a
attack.
certain point, the game just started like the dynamic shifted to every time they try to take a fight, there's this annoying like save effect that happens over and over against them, and they seem to lose all those fights. Like right now, I wouldn't be that surprised if what they're discussing is their plan for killing the enemy supports. That's like if they could take out the Dazzle and the Wisp at the start of the fight, they're definitely gonna win that fight, almost always.
Radiant's bottom tower
But how do they
is
do? How do
under
they even
attack.
take out one of those heroes? Even just the Dazzle? How do they take out the Dazzle at the start of the fight? They don't really have the kinds of heroes to do that like quick burst, especially if the Dazzle's well positioned.
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult here. Normally, you don't have to face up against both of these, right? And you see it in most games. You take out the Dazzle or the Io, whoever's in your game. When there's both, maybe you go on the Dazzle, well, Shallow Grave still exists, or Io can help keep the Dazzle alive. You go on the Io, well, Shallow Grave exists, and is gonna help keep the Io alive. I'm not sure of the best way to do it, and Empire, as you said, a bit more of the experienced team. They have fed away some kills here, but generally doing a good job of keeping the Io and the Dazzle safe.
Yep, and Lodon's finally got the Blink Dagger, so I mean, even the, well, we gotta remember that the Batrider and the Nyx are like, they're almost playing with two offlaners in this game. Neither of them is really functioning as like a traditional kind of two position, and it does put a lot of pressure on the gyro. But at the same time, as far as what they need to have on the Nyx and the Bat, they've actually got everything. Like the Nyx has died a lot this game, been slow to farm, but all it really needed is the Blink. The next most important thing it needs is level 12 actually. Like you'd love to get a little bit of XP just to like max out that mana burn to have the shorter cooldown. Because from 12 seconds to 4 seconds is really huge. Then you are actually mana burning OD twice in a fight, and that's like most of OD being dealt with if you're mana burning it. Him. Is OD a him or I don't know, but
I think OD's a
OD
dude,
twice
but I mean, doesn't matter. It's Dota. Who knows? Soon we'll have the
So,
hats which swap these
Devour,
things, you know? Because
Oh, yeah,
I'm pretty
that's-
sure there's gonna be like female Invoker before Dota's done.
But can you picture OD wearing a hat? Is OD already wearing a hat?
Yeah, OD's
That's
already
so
wearing a
weird.
hat.
I thought OD is like a rock demon or something, or
What, he can't put like an extra rock on his head to make himself feel great? Okay, I tried to go into like cosmetic view or whatever and it screws up the game. Anyway, they're getting the rush for Empire. This is gonna be fantastic. This, again, they're having so much trouble killing off the gyrocopter because of all the support. Now he can just play even more ham, and they already did a good amount of damage on this mid tower. So I think, unfortunately, Rack's going down soon for Pries unless they manage to find nice pickoffs here. And Gadrox has been scouted out. Aloha Dance. Okay, Gadrox knows he's in the danger zone. Do they have dust between them? No. Oh, they have a gem. It doesn't matter. You don't need dust when you have a gem. They relocate in. They're keeping track of where Gadrox is. They're going to mono burn him. He does manage to leap to the low ground. The cooldown's going to miss. Welcome to Speed Boost. And the rest of his team is here. So Gadrox making the great escape.
Slog's a good hero. I mean, they take off the Lincolns, then he packs off the Nyx stand, and then he packs off the next Nyx stand as well, the Carapace. That's just like such a slippery hero, and Slog is very, very difficult for Empire to kill. The problem is that the way the game's kind of situated right now, it's not really on Empire to kill Slog, it's on Prius to try and somehow kill the gyrocopter, but to do that without dealing with the Wisp and the Dazzle, never mind the disruptive effect of the Nyx and the Batrider, they're just having too much difficulty doing that. And they've got the Spirit Breaker BKB, they can like charge onto Dazzle or Wisp, they can get onto the hero. It's about getting the rest of the damage of what
Oh, they try to
DD
go
on Slog.
on the back lines on to Havos. They know he has a gem if they can get rid of it. And new BKB is being shown off. Funnick in a lot of trouble, has to shallow grave himself. Io trying to make sure Havos stays alive. They're going on the back and the front lines. FN trying to fight against all of them. He does have the Aegis, but he's already used his BKB. Nobody is dead yet still on either side, but now Funnick getting very low. He gets popped back up to full health. They burnt the Aegis. They've killed off the Nyx Assassin and Empire. They do not have this fight. The BKB is proving to be too much. They're trying to escape. They're gonna lose Dazzle as well. Tracked up. They've got a gyrocopter in a really bad spot. And he'll try for the TP away, but I don't know if he's getting this one so easily. And they'll lose the gyro to boot.
Yeah, so Empire may be getting overconfident there. The fact that Dazzle gets kind of initiated on and then has to self-grave right from the beginning of the fight, it's like always going to be a bad thing. We spoke before about the Dazzle's positioning. Like, if you have to charge through the whole team onto Dazzle, that's pretty fine for Empire, but if you can find Dazzle just around the side before actually going through any other heroes, force Dazzle to self-grave and then confidently fight knowing that no one's getting graved, suddenly things look a lot better for you. And that's exactly how the fight turns out. Like, Empire survived for a while, but it's pretty clear to Prius that they can kind of like, someone in their team just called, okay, Graves done, like, let's go.
Oh, and they're gonna catch out Havost again. He might lose the gem here. He needs a lot of help from this Nyx Assassin, and I don't think it's there. Havost gets to force stuff back into the base. The blink away, and they've saved the gem. He's still got Firefly active, but I'm not sure he can catch anyone here. He really wants to find a lasso target, but it's so hard. Gadrox popping that dog pack, showing them he won't go down, and now they also lose Aloha Dance on that Nyx Assassin. Havost again getting slowed down by the Aegis. Nether Strike cancelled. Empire still, I mean, I'm really surprised they're going for this one. The charge away stops Havos from lassoing anyone, but they did not have the gyrocopter active, and they were playing very aggressively. There's going to be a relocate behind onto Zenigata. Do they have any way of stopping this TP? The damage will not be enough.
Yeah, it is interesting. I agree with you. It's like Empire decide to start being aggressive, sort of preemptively, like expecting they're gonna be strong in the next few seconds, and Prius just respect that, so they start retreating preemptively. And like from a viewing perspective, it looks like, hey, Empire shouldn't be able to be aggressive just yet. But what you'll notice is in the games where each team waits a few more seconds, often then Empire like ends up catching a lot of heroes and killing all of them. So it's Empire jumping the gun because they suspect Prius are about to leave, and then Prius respecting it and saying, okay, actually we will leave because you are about to look really strong.
And Empire looking to go in again. They do manage to catch out Zenigata. This should be a quick pick on the vent. The rest of the team is thinking about coming in. The stun comes out onto Havos. The charge is on through. Manages to hit onto BKB, dropped by FN. He's going to try to put out as much damage as he can. Gadrock's actually taking a huge amount here, but suddenly he's invisible. Healing up. Also has the BKB going on to the IO in the back lines. He was trying to use that Ghost Scepter to escape. They have a lot of magical damage still. There are a lot of heroes going down. Will they be able to catch Pone on the backlines? They do not have the Bounty Hunter quite yet. They're trying to catch up to him. They should be able to get him. He's invisible again. They finally get him. Gadrock's coming back in. They do have Vision of You. They still have a gem on Havos. He's probably going to go for the Pounce over, but Havos is already ready on the other side. Zenigata with the Magic Missile swapped as well, trying to get Gadrock's out. Zenigata will fall here. Gadrock's in a lot of trouble. Does have Shadow Blade in 4 seconds, but there is a tail on him. He manages to Dog Pact off one stun. Havost coming back in. Still has the Lincoln Sphere, but they finally bring down Gadrox. And now Pone, he's come back out of the base only to be put into a world of pain. They are chasing him down, and that is the full team gone for the lineup of Prius.
That level 4 mana burn did so much work, I just want to say it. Like, the difference between the level 3 and level 4, like, you might have thought I was exaggerating earlier when I said there was a big deal, but I think he mana burned the OD twice, and mana burned the Slark 2 or 3 times as well, so at the end he couldn't use Shadow Blade because he just had no mana. We're really seeing the impact of the Nyx Assassin now, even though it really was underperforming earlier on. Got very little out of lane, was feeding a lot, took a long time to get anywhere, but I think it was a very important playmaker in that fight.
Yeah, they do have some buybacks coming out. Slock has one at the ready as well. Cooldown gonna hit mostly on that BKB target. Mastermind finally pops his. Aloha Dance goes for the blink away. Pone now running away. Doesn't matter if you have BKB, we got a lasso for you. Spirit Breaker falls, no buyback now. And they are ready to take this Rax down. Prius in a lot of trouble here. They do have tier 2s up in other lanes, so it will only be the one Rax. But Empire have just gotten themselves a big lead off the back of this.
That was a mana burn, a stun, and another mana burn.
Yeah.
And OD was like on 200 HP from 1800. It's actually ridiculous. So OD has to respect that, has to fight with BKB. Doesn't have it just yet, 30 seconds to BKB, although this is just gonna be chases and stragglers, so...
Okay, Funnick taking a lot of damage. He does have the Shallow Grave. The cooldown comes out. Gotta hit onto 3 of them twice. They've already killed the Dazzle, but oh, a big Sanity's Eclipse does barely anything, and now they're picking off the Scragglers. Gadrox trying to fight against them, but Havost is here. He'll see you whether you're invisible or not. Blinks forwards. He's getting nice pounces away. They'll take this tier 2 for 3, but another 4 for 2 in favor of Prius, of Empire. This is just doing good work.
Empire made the same mistake earlier on in the game when they had 2 heroes just run into the enemy jungle and then found the whole enemy team, and this is like Prius kind of thought they'd find 1 or 2 people and they ended up finding the whole Empire team, and OD didn't even have BKB up yet. So you run into the whole enemy team, your OD doesn't have BKB, that's like an absolute disaster of a fight.
Yeah. There's going to be a charge on through onto the IO. The Nether Strike is at the ready. Havos trying to disrupt that. Immediately just lassos up Pone. They do not want to lose this IO, and they'll get this kill. Again, they go down on the Spirit Breaker, and now pounding away at this tier 3. It would be a 3v4 if Prius could find some way to get into this fight. Already about to be down 2 racks. There's a swap in, trying to catch out Havost. A nice cooldown. Gonna just kill off Zenigata. Gadrock's not even able to get the kill because of the blink and full stop away. Gadrock's now chasing after them with that BKB. This thing is gonna be down soon. It is a short BKB at this point, and he is slowed, forced out. They lost the melee racks. And Aloha Dance coming back in, saying, I hear ODs respawning. Let me get in on this.
Yeah, it's looking pretty bleak now for Prius. That Octarine core up on Batrider, that's interesting. It's not a pickup that you see that often. See Batriders go BKBs, Mask of Madnesses. I'm trying to think if I've seen an Octarine core at all before on Batrider. There's
Yeah,
gonna be a
Ags Octarine, have you not seen that when when the Ags first came out, there were a lot of people building very questionable things on the Batrider in professional Dota, trying to make the Ags a thing.
no, I haven't really seen that. To be honest, I think that like the Axe concept is cool, but Refresh Orb is probably just better anyway. Um, but Octarine's interesting. It's gonna make the Batrider match more difficult to kill because there's always gonna be magic damage coming out of the Bat during fights, just walking around in Firefly and lots of heroes being damaged by it, plus the Flame Break. And shorter cooldown is also a nice thing, having ulti more often, even just your other spells being spammable more often.
Yeah, I think obviously the ult is the big one, but I think even the sticky napalm, right? That thing can be devastating in a fight. This is the point where the BKBs are getting pretty low, so you can be sticky napalming up. If the slot can't turn, he can't pounce away so easily. And yes, he can dog pack that off, but dog packed also has a cooldown, right? So lots of good stuff coming out of Empire, and as you said, I think there's a lot to be said here just for how more experienced teams take team fights. They did have some bad engagements, but they really mitigated the losses, right? They lost 2 in places where they had overextended, versus Pries overextends and loses 4 in that fight in the bottom. So
We've seen like a 20,000 gold swing in
Yeah,
the last
yeah.
10 minutes or so, and it's funny because it's not the team with the bounty hunter that got 20,000 more gold. It's actually the other team.
Radiant's top tower.
I mean, if the fights had been that one-sided in Prius' favor, they probably would have won the game by now because of the bounty hunter. It would have been like 30,000 instead of 20,000. But as it stands, this is probably their last stand. They have to win a fight here, otherwise that's it.
And obviously, if they can make something happen here, they will get a big lead since they have the bounty hunter, but they have to somehow find this. Gadrox actually pounces in on the backlines, isn't quite able to catch anyone. The cooldown occurs. It's going to hit on a couple of them, but they are going in hard. Funnick, the target of choice. They really haven't gotten anyone down. They've already lost the Venge. Pwn now in a lot of trouble. Gadrox taking it. The Sanity's Eclipse just burns mana. Nobody's looking hurt. And now, jumping forward to Bo's just going to poke away at the racks, and the GG's all cold.
Yeah, so I think that Prius maybe just needs to be a bit more aware of like the overall dynamic in the early game, because I feel like they kind of outplayed Empire very much in the lane stage, but just weren't attentive enough to like keeping the farm advantage. So I mean, sure, there's not a lot they can do about the Gyro getting farm, but they need their cores in the other lanes to be getting a lot more farm, so that by getting those kills, they're actually getting substantial lead. Because Empire, they could have put Empire in a position where once those fights start happening, it's not possible for Empire to just get one big grave and then, because they're so far behind, they'll still lose the fight. But Empire weren't actually ever that far behind in this game. They never even got to a 10k disadvantage. They were more like 5 or 6k. And I think that's something that Prius could look at themselves to try and improve on in the next game, because if they want to take a dramatic lead, it needs to actually be dramatic.
Yeah. It's, as you said, it's very difficult to play up against the more experienced team, and really making sure that your cores farm if their cores are farming so much. Either way, folks, that's game 1. It's best of 3. This is the semifinals match. We'll get into game 2 right quick to see who's gonna end up in the finals against London Conspiracy. I'm Llama Down Under. I was joined by Scant, who goes by Scancer on Twitter. I'm just Llama Down Under on Twitter. Give us any and all feedback on how to make the casting more enjoyable for you, and please enjoy the short wait between games.